What's up, y'all? Welcome back to MSM Audio. I'm Tim. Thank y'all for tuning in. Today I'm doing a how-to for Fruity Delay 3. My last video I did Fruity Delay 2, and as you can see, Fruity Delay 3 is way more expansive, has a number of additional features so that you can get some interesting textures to your sound and your tracks. So again, I'm using Machine. I have 40's very own keys opened. I'm using the 40's Lo-Fi piano preset. Let's take a listen to how it sounds without the delay enabled. Well, the delay is enabled. Hold on, let me turn that off. All right, so now here you have the input, which is now set to 0. As you start to increase it, the level of the delay increases. So let's increase it. I want to turn this down. Let's see. And you can adjust that volume as you see fit. The delay time, this time parameter adjusts the time between the echoes. So you can turn it up, get a wider distance between the echoes. Or of course, you can shorten it and get a shorter distance between the echoes. Here you have the tempo sync where the echo keeps pace with whatever tempo changes you may make. So let me shorten this and let's hear how it sounds. Okay, so that will come in handy for automation as well as this next option, keep pitch. You'll notice as I change the time of the echoes, you'll hear the pitch change. So let's take a listen. And this option here, the smoothing option, it slows down the pitch change for some interesting effects. Let's take a listen. All right, let's decrease it, see how that sounds. So again, you can get some interesting effects, and you can select the keep pitch option to keep the pitch the same as you're changing and cycling through the time options. Let's hear it. So you can do some interesting things with automation. This offset parameter here relates to the delay model options, mono, stereo, ping pong. In mono, it's a sum of both the left and right channels. So let's take a listen. And you have this stereo parameter here where when it's turned to the far right, it's in full stereo. Halfway, it's normal stereo. And fully turned to the left, it's in mono. So let's take a listen. So it gives you a ping pong effect when this stereo parameter is set to full stereo. Then you have the stereo option which in each of these have a different effect, right? Mono creates a time delay with the offset option, and stereo is more of a pre-delay. All right, so let's take a listen. Okay. And because of that difference, they each have different sweet spots with the offset button. Now, when I go to ping pong, you'll notice the offset parameter changes into a normal pan. For the ping pong option, where the signal bounces between the left and right channels. So, starting off, you have a lot of options. This brings me to the feedback portion, where you have the level parameter that controls the level of echoes in the plugin. You have the cutoff frequency, which relates to these filtering options here. Right now, it's in low pass, where all of the frequencies below the cutoff point are audible. So let's hear what this sounds like. Okay, then you have high pass, where all the frequencies above the cutoff point are audible. And you have band pass, where all the frequencies around the cutoff point are audible. Okay, and then you have the this resonance option here, which boosts the signal at narrow frequencies around the point of cutoff. So let's hear what that sounds like when we add some resonance. Okay, let's go high pass and see. All right, let's go low pass. And again, you can start to play with the stereo options here and see what you can come up with. All right, let's go mono. See what that sounds like. So again, many options already. And then you can turn it off, which brings me to the sample rate and bits parameters. The sample rate, as you reduce it, it lowers the sound quality at higher frequencies, and you'll hear some distortion or aliasing. So let's hear what that sounds like. And the bits parameter, when you lower it, provides crunchy or grainy kind of sound. And then, of course, you can come back to your filters and enable those and go through the different options there. And again, you can come back to the delay model types, play around with the stereo options, and try different things. So it's just a playground for exploration, right? Um, so let's go on to the next section. And before I go on, the level parameter here has a visual indicator to let you know. It goes from green to orange to red to let you know that you're approaching the maximum, and you'll get some additional feedback, and it'll just go on for infinity. So let's listen to that. So you definitely want to be careful there. Resonance also has that same visual indicator, and also have to be careful with this one because the feedback level doesn't have to be all the way up to the max in order for you to get that additional feedback. See, as you can see, right? So I think it's about maybe 75%, and you can start to getting that additional feedback. So something to be mindful of when you're working with those two options, which brings me to modulation, and the rate parameter adjusts the cycle time, the cycle of modulation as it relates to the time changes here. The time parameter controls the amount of modulation, and the cutoff frequency, the cutoff parameter here, controls the amount of modulation as it relates to the cutoff and the feedback section. So let's play around and see how it sounds. Let's see. All right, here we go. Let's add some resonance, see what that does. So things start to get really interesting, right? Moving on to the diffusion section. The diffusion section, this level parameter controls the amount of diffusion, or it's described as smearing of the echoes, and spread adjusts the time spread of the diffusion. So let's add some diffusion, see how it sounds. Let's turn it on. Actually, let's hear this first, just without it. All right, now let's turn it up. Let's go extreme. Let's try it in high pass. let's go low pass. And then again, you can come back to play with the stereo and see how it sounds. Let's go mono. So again, it starts to get really interesting, and your options just continue to increase in terms of, finding the right pocket for whatever sound you're using in your track, and you have a multitude of options available to you, which brings me to the next section, the feedback distortion. You have your saturation and limit options. Now, the level parameter, as you increase it, it reduces the threshold for saturation to take effect. And the knee, if you can see in this waveform where it kind of looks like a bending knee, that's the transition point between non-distortion and distortion, and you can adjust the knee for a softer transition, or you can go extreme for a more rough sounding transition or coarse sounding transition. Let's see how the saturation sounds. Okay, now let's hear the transition when I adjust the knee, how it sounds. Okay, and the symmetry changes the waveform from being symmetrical to asymmetrical to give you some additional textures and sounds to play around with. See, that's not the sweet spot for the stereo. Sweet spot's probably around the middle somewhere. Let's go back to mono. See how that sounds. All right, so again, options are limitless, right? And then you have the limiter, which is it's a hard set limiter. The knee and symmetry options are faded out. This is good for when you want to use high feedback settings. So if I turn the feedback up pretty high, you can use the limiter to kind of squash the signal a bit. So let's listen to it. So you can hear it limits the signal, so that can be useful if you want to use high feedback values. Then in the output section, you have the wet parameter, which you can decrease the processing on the signal to get a different sound. Let's turn off the saturation first. Okay. And the tone parameter below it is essentially a filter where you can, far right is a high pass and far left is the low pass. And you have the dry parameter where you can decrease this and hear just the processed portion of the sound. And you can reintroduce the original signal. All right, so that covers Fruity Delay 3. Hopefully, you'll be able to take this as I have and, explore, be creative, have fun. Again, I'm reviewing the FL Studio native plugins. Many of them I just looked over to begin with. This was one of them, and now it's a part of my toolbox. So hopefully, you can take this, be creative, find some interesting pockets, create some new sounds that are unique to you, unique to your style, and let's keep creating.